sessions and consultations. It's just helped kind of, one, educate people, and then display like what we do does work.
We saw the Pyrenees. Holy cow.
Oh, Luna?
Yes.
Yeah, I think she's a Pyrenees too, but she's some kind of mix. I think she was like...
That's how we heard about you guys.
Oh, with Elizabeth?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Because we were at the dog park and we're like, oh my gosh. She was like, Luna was walking off leash and we were like...
Yeah. Yeah, it's all because of, I use e-collar. So I'll educate you more on all that stuff works.
Yes.
And then I'm working with, so you're over by Travis then?
Yes, I
Okay.
think kind of like off of Racine, right by that, the park and Old Pueblo restaurant.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Sweet Mandy Bees.
Because there's another Winnie who just signed up, that little chocolate lab.
Oh my
Have
gosh.
you seen her?
You know what? Weirdly, I think we have met her.
Yeah, her name's Winnie as well.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so she's just, I think she's starting like a couple weeks or so.
Oh, good. Okay.
So, and I think she's actually the same age. She's like 6 to 7 months.
Yeah, Winnie's born May 1st, so she's about almost 6 months, 5-6 months.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'll just have you start off with, I read your form real quick. Just, it seems like standard obedience stuff, just control, a lot of pulling, listening, things like that. Okay. What are you looking to achieve and what are you wanting to get from like the training itself?
So she's great about doing her crate. She can sleep through the night, potty train. Just on walks, we want to just be able to walk with her, get some exercise, but I feel like she gets distracted. She'll want to go, if she sees a dog, she'll stop and look. She'll sniff, want to pick things up, want to bite. Just distracted, I think, puppy stop.
Sure. Okay. If you could have what you wanted with Winnie, like what would that look like? Like would she go to restaurants with you? Would she go hiking? Would she just walk to a dog park? What's that look like?
I think it would be all the above. Just kind of like, I think the most important thing is just being able to go on a walk and walk forward and not have to stop and sniff or stop and go.
Okay.
Just be able to walk normally. But then, yeah, if we got to the point where she could go to a restaurant and just sit patiently and hang out. She doesn't really beg too much because we've never given her people food, but yeah.
She hasn't learned that yet.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, things change with puppies.
Ah.
They develop behaviors. Like I get a lot of people say like I have a really quiet puppy, and they've only had the puppy for 2 days. I'm like, well, that stuff changes. Once they get comfortable, as they mature. Like humans, we go from like terrible twos to like was a toddler, terrible twos to like teenager to young adult and all that stuff. Same thing for dogs, but they progress fairly quickly. So 6 months in a year tend to be the most obvious personality shifts.
Okay.
And then at 2 years, you essentially have your dog. Not that you can't change anything, or not that anything can't be worked on. Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But definitely, I never. The dog you have today isn't necessarily the dog you're gonna have tomorrow. Is what I tell everybody,
okay.
unless you're being proactive about it.
Yeah.
Some will say like, "Oh, the dog will outgrow it," or "The puppy will outgrow it," and I get that so many times, and then I get dogs. I'm like, "Why wasn't this addressed when they were younger?" And they're like, "We thought the dog would outgrow it." I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty common." Yeah. Okay. So all the dogs, and I've trained Luna, Nash, Shadow, Roxy. I'm gonna start training Winnie. I believe there's another one in that area, in that little group that I've trained. Okay, and all those dogs are trained the same way. They're all trained on remote collar. Okay.
Yes.
Are you familiar with remote collar?
They mentioned it, that it's kind of like the mother bite, right?
Right. So I called it a bite on the button.
Yeah.
So we have prong collar, which is the spiky looking one you might see on some dogs.
Yes.
And then e-collar is, people more commonly know it as like a shock collar.
Yes.
But it's
noise,
not.
Right?
There's a pitch,
Yeah.
there's a tone, there's a vibration, then there's a muscle contraction. Okay. Have you ever been to a physical therapist or a chiropractor? You have not. Have you ever seen those YouTube videos where they recreate labor contraction pains in men?
Oh.
You haven't seen that?
No,
Okay.
but I need to.
Yeah.
My husband.
If you YouTube it, obviously, so what they do is the machine's called a TENS unit. Okay. And you can go to Walgreens and you can go in the back section and you'll see it looks like a little bone, and you put it on your back. And there's a slight current that moves your muscles to either ease back pain at the physical therapist's office or like at a chiropractor's office. Like if your back is too tense, they use it to relax the muscles. I had a client that used it to break up scar tissue on her shoulders. So it's used to ease back pain, build muscle strength. Like if a person hasn't been able to use their let's say they broke their arm or something, they need to rebuild that muscle strength. They can't just get up and walk, that they need this machine to kind of help utilize the muzzle on the low degree to build up that strength again. Okay, so it's the same technology. The term shock collar comes from one of two things. One, the older, like when they first came out, they were not what they are today. They were more along the lines. They were more the contraction itself was very strong, giving it the like shocking. What's the word? Impression. Okay, or it's because in the dog training world, I'm sure you know about positive reinforcement with like treats and stuff like that. It's great for like, you know, puppies under 6 months, and it's great when you want to see a certain behavior again, like if you say sit and they sit, you want to, you know, that's all great. But it's terrible for reliable obedience, meaning obedience that's applicable out here, or for things that we want to stop. Like let's say a dog is like lunging and barking, it's not good for stopping that behavior. Okay, but it's good for puppies just to set a foundation, and it's good to like incorporate as an added reinforcer. But I don't even worry about it. Like I use it if needed, but it's super rare when that happens. Okay, so that field of, or that like kind of spectrum of dog trainers tends to use a lot of words or verbiage to deter people from using tools like prong collar and e-collar. So they'll talk about torture, they'll talk about punishment, they'll talk about being mean, they'll talk about stress and like all these things. Right now, stress is normal. Stress is everywhere, right? And it's impossible to raise or have a dog and it never experience stress in their lives. Like it's going to happen either at the vet office, at being groomed, whether being taken to a new environment. There's like, it's going to happen, right? So the e-collar is just a refined TENS unit, in my opinion. The TENS units that they use on people, they can't. If there's a pacemaker, they cannot use it. There's risk of electrical burn, and there's also risk of electrocution if there's like any water or anything like that nearby. We don't get that with e-collar. Okay, e-collar is centralized to where the two probes make contact. There's two things like this, and they're pressing into the neck.
It's called an e-collar?
Correct.
Okay, and can I order it on Amazon?
We would send you the link. Yes, you would get it on Amazon.
Perfect.
Okay, we would send you the make and model. So there's two probes that make contact. So you would see this twitch, but everywhere else would be fine because it's not electricity. So I tell people it's electric, but not electricity. So a lot of people think it's like a taser. They think they're tasering their dog or something like that. I'm like, no, that's not what it is. They use the technology on humans, right? So here, the reason why I use e-collar is because, especially now with COVID and everything, it allows me to train the owner using just verbal instruction. So I'm here with you, and I just coach you through everything. Okay, so I'm not touching the dog anymore. So like Luna was trained by her owner, and Luna was actually a tough case because she was so nervous in the beginning. She was super nervous, but Elizabeth did all that stuff herself.
Wow.
Okay, Nash was trained by his owners. Shadow trained before COVID, so I did a little bit of it. But no, I know Nash and Luna for sure trained post-COVID. Okay, so those dogs I had nothing to do with. The owners did that stuff themselves. Okay, so I coach you through it, so nothing is tied to me, and you learn more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because like if something is difficult, instead of me going like, let me do this for you, I just coach you through it.
Yeah.
It is difficult, but you learn more about the tool and how it works. So then it's more effective for you in the long run. Because once I'm gone, if something happens like an emergency, like you want to know that you have the ability to make her comply if needed. Okay, so every dog's number is different. So if you did go to like a chiropractor or something, they would put the machine on and they would start really low and they would work their way up, and then you would tell them like, hey, that's too much. And when you tell them that, they then dip down the machine and they go, okay, how's that? And you say that's fine, and they let it do its work. Okay, it's very similar with dogs. I start low and I work my way up. I don't know what Winnie's number is going to be. Winnie knows. Okay, so I'm here to help you find that number. And then I send you videos as well, just to kind of get you ready for the first class. And in the first class, we just jump right into the training. Okay.
Sure.
The first thing that I teach is always leash walking, the heel command, which is going to alleviate the pulling and the stopping and the sniffing and all that stuff. That's all. That's all a part of that command. Oh, Ruthie is the other dog I trained. And Ruthie was actually post-COVID, and she was a very nervous puppy.
Oh wow.
Since she was 6 months, and she calmed down so much because of the e-collar. Okay. So, any issues that you might be dealing with, like typical puppy issues, is usually lack of formal discipline. Okay. Human discipline is no, stop, right? Put them in timeout, put them in the kennel. She's alive. Put them in the kennel. But dogs don't learn that way.
Sit.
You're okay.
Sit. Yes, good girl.
Dogs don't learn that way. Dogs don't say, sit. Dogs don't put dogs in kennels and timeout, stuff like that. They bite each other.
Yeah.
Okay, that's how they address things. So the e-collar allows us to talk to Winnie in her language at the press of a button,
Okay.
which also gets us off leash control. Okay, which is super important because other tools, if you remove the leash, like the dog might be great. Oh.
Oh, ah!
I'm gonna get her on my leash real quick.
Okay. How did she Houdini out of that? Jesse, do you like the gentle, like the one I have too?
The gentle leader?
Yes.
It's okay. It gives you more control for sure. It's better than that harness. But off leash, you'd be stuck.
Oh, okay.
It's the same deal. Stay in the office. All right. So. Yeah, the gentle leader is great for puppies under 6 months.
Okay.
But then once we start to get in the world of like distraction or off leash, it's still gonna fall short. Okay. Any tool, even the prong collar,
Yeah.
which I like, it's a very effective tool. Once you remove the leash, you don't have control anymore.
Yeah.
Okay. The only tool that guarantees that is the e-collar.
Uh-huh.
Which so I'm like, well, why would I waste time with all these other methods if I know I'm still gonna fall short?
Yeah.
Right? So other places will tell you, well, you have to do all these things first. You have to do food, then you have to do, gentle leader, the prong collar, the e-collar. And I understand as a business, it's more money.
Yeah.
But the problem is a lot of people give up because it doesn't work.
Oh.
So then either you get people that are committed and you make a lot of money, or you get a lot of people that give up because it doesn't work. Right? So I go, well, why would I use these other tools that give me 20, maybe 60% success, and I have a tool that gives me 90 to 100,
Yeah.
right? So I'll just use that one tool.
Absolutely.
So all my dogs and puppies are trained on remote collar after they're 6 months. Because at this age, you can be trained at an adult level,
Okay.
okay? So I skip all the other stuff because it's not necessary. I actually rather have a dog completely untrained because it just makes things easier.
Okay.
Because the dog doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
A lot of times they come to me and they have been trained, but they've been trained incorrectly. So now I got to fix a lot of problems.
Yeah.
And now I have to reteach the dog. And I get dogs that are trained on e-collar, but they weren't trained correctly.
Oh, okay.
So, like that little runaway moment there would not happen because what's lacking here, see how she like keeps getting up and stuff?
Yeah.
Is she has no boundaries. She has no rules, okay? Not that you haven't tried to establish any, but because she doesn't respect those rules. So right now, you see me like being very hands-on with her
Yeah.
because this is what I have at the moment. And I'm being very strict about what I'm wanting her to do, which is just not to move, right?
Yeah, nutrient hands versus verbal.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because sit means nothing right now.
Yeah.
Because if it did mean something, she would do it and not move, right? So like if I teach a dog to down, they down and don't move for 2 to 3 hours.
Okay.
That's down. Okay?
Yeah.
Down isn't a trick. People look at obedience as fun little cute things your dog does, which is fine if that's what you want. But obedience, sit, stay down, come, place, heel, is all meant to be functional. It's meant for you to be able to do more with your dog. Walk your dog. Let your dog have freedom. Go to a restaurant and they don't, move around. Have a conversation with someone in the middle, at a park and not worry about your dog taking off.
Yeah.
That's what obedience is for, okay? So, paw, roll over, sit pretty, all those things are things that I don't care about. Those are tricks. Those are fun, cute things that your dog does, okay? We don't care about that stuff. We care about the stuff that's gonna allow you to do more, okay? So here, every time she moves, no words, I'm just being very strict and repeating the process. And if I had her, I would give it like maybe a couple of days. All this would go away with no e-collar. Because I'm so consistent and I'm so strict and I'm very patient, right?
Yeah.
Most people they tend to forget that their dog is fidgeting around, you know, so then they let it slide, and then the dog learns like they can fidget around to some degree, and then we don't get that consistency, right? So here, I'm applying a negative, which is a lot of that, like you see me tugging on the leash, you see me kind of putting my hands on her, but because she's a dog and she's meant to be bitten, this level of consequence doesn't really mean much to her. The e-collar fixes all that problem, okay? So here, in terms of like length of time and what dictates, what dictates length of time and cost and all that stuff is really just how much control you're wanting, which is why I was asking, like, what does your life look like with her? Yeah. Because I don't teach stuff that you're not going to use. Okay. I don't have like so much a cookie cutter program. Like there is a structure to it. There's certain things that have to happen, but everybody's life with their dog looks different. Okay. So then when I go, okay, cool. Like you do a lot of stuff with your dog. You go hiking and off leash and traveling and all that stuff. You need a lot of control. And other clients go, we just walk our dog to the dog park and we walk home. I'm like, oh, okay, cool, that's fairly simple, right? And others go like, we do all that and we go to the restaurant patio. So all those things tell me what the owner may need. Yeah. So then I go, I know how long it's gonna take to train, okay? That's why my programs are short. So I have 3, 6, 9, and 12-week programs. You're in between the 6 to 12, okay? The 3-week program is for people that just wanna fix like reactivity, which is like lunging and barking, or they just wanna learn how to walk their dog without pulling. The 6 to 12-week programs come with more stuff. Okay. So leash walking, obviously, come when called, are the two most important commands. It sounds like you want some kind of stationary control, which is like the lay down, don't move for a bit. Okay. So like you would or you do go to like restaurant patios, you would want to bring her with. Okay. Do you do hiking stuff or anything like that?
Not hiking in Chicago. However, what to know, Jesse, is that we are going to try and travel with her on a plane.
Sure.
So, I don't know if it'd be like, you know, I would assume like the stationary, all those would be good ones too.
Yes, so for the plane, you're going to need that. Yeah. Okay. Luna's actually doing the same stuff. Okay. So, in terms of length of time, I would put you most likely around the 9 to 12. Okay. So the 6-week program is we walk our dog, we go to the dog park, and we go back home. Okay. The 9-week program is that plus we're going to go on a plane or we're going to go to restaurant patios because then we cover the stationary control.
Let's do it.
The 12-week would be all the commands: sit, stay down, come, place, heel. So 6 commands built to off-leash reliability. So that's saying like you don't need a leash to have that level of control, but you do have to do the homework. Just keep that in mind. For the 9-week program, we focus on the recall, making sure that's off-leash reliable because that command has to be off-leash reliable. The others are kind of like if the owner wants. But I've had people who just do their homework, like, you know, Elizabeth with Luna, does a lot of stuff with her off-leash, and she's only doing 9 classes. She just had her 8th class, so she has 1 left, right? So when I get clients that really practice and go home and do what they're supposed to, I don't like limit you. You know, I keep teaching as long as I see you're making progress and you're applying stuff, then I go, here's some more, okay? I get other clients that don't practice as much, or maybe they're too busy, so they don't get as much covered within a period of time, okay? So for sure, I know within 9 classes, I can get the heel down, I can get the recall down, we can get some kind of stationary control down, and we'll most likely get all 6 commands. It's just we're not really too focused on building all of them to off-leash reliability. We're really focusing on the one. But then if you're practicing and you're doing your homework, you can also get more of those commands to be off-leash reliable, okay? A very important thing about this is application. So like stationary control is very simple to practice. And it's so simple that people blow it off. And then it's like, oh crap, we're gonna be on a plane in 2 weeks, we better start practicing. When you could have practiced for 6 months, you know, after learning the command or the skill set with her, right? So definitely once we teach something, the whole phrase of if you don't use it, you lose it, is applicable to dogs. It's not that they really forget it, it's just it's not going to be 100% reliable because it's not being used regularly. Like they kind of forget about it. The heel tends to be the one thing that everybody teaches very quickly because everybody walks their dogs, okay, and at least 3 times a day. The recall tends to take people the longest to teach because it requires you to go somewhere and then practice, which you guys it's convenient for you because you live by Travis, so you have the nice space to it. But then you also have to think about your obedience is only as effective as the environment you practice in. So if you only practice at Travis, she'll be great there. And then if you assume like, oh great, she's off these trained, and like you take her to like, over here to Oz, and you're like, man, she's terrible here because you've not practiced here. This is much different than Travis. Okay, so yes. So when you start practicing, I always tell everybody change the environment. Environment is not just like location, but the weather. Some dogs behave differently when it's snowing or when it's raining or when it's really hot, right? All those things are factors that people don't think about. All those things are factors that people don't think about. And I tell them that's definitely something that you need to practice with in order to build the most reliability.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it's just doing your homework, right? So like, let's say, let's say you get really busy for a couple of weeks. It's gonna set you back. No big deal. So what I do is that's why I'm training you, and then you go off and do your training, right?
Yeah.
So some of my clients, by the end of their program, they'll have learned everything, but they've just not had enough time to practice everything to get it to where they need it to be. And they'll ask like, well, should we do more lessons with you? I'm like, not really. I was like, because I already taught you everything that you're wanting. Now it's just practice. And then they'll message me like 2 months later, like, hey, Jesse, we finally got there.
Oh, good. Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So everybody learns at their own rate. We got the variable of the dog and the personality type. We got the variable of the person. Obviously you have your social life, you have your work life, your family life, all that stuff. And then you have your dog, right?
Yes.
So what's great about the training is that you don't have to set aside like a ton of time to train. Once we teach stuff, it's just apply it. Every time you walk her, that's when you're training. Whenever you go to Travis, that's when you're training. If you're gonna sit and watch Netflix for a couple hours, you can train. You're not gonna move for a bit. So I can have her laying down at my feet and work on that inside the home so that I have something to use when we go on that airplane, okay? Now, to have a dog on an airplane, I know there's more stuff to that, so you'll have to look into that. I know a little bit about it, but I'm kind of ignorant to it. But I know if you have like a service dog or an ESA.
I got her emotional support animal already.
Okay.
So she's, I have like the certificate and everything, so she will go on planes.
Okay.
But
so when it comes to stuff like that, you just have to be mindful of if she acts out, it's going to call attention.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why it's very important that you are strict and you reinforce things, because if they see you and she's on the ground like laying down, but then when she sees another dog or person, she's lunging like that, it's going to call attention. Okay.
Yeah.
As long as she's well trained and behaving, which is not a problem with the remote collar, you should be perfectly fine. Okay. Questions so far?
no, none. So I'm excited to get started.
The collar, do you know how big she's going to get?
Probably between 60 and 70 pounds.
Okay. The collar you're going to need is the Dogstore 2300. Maria will send you this information. It runs about $287 with tax. It's fully waterproof, both the remote and the receiver, so she can go swimming in it, no problem. It's a 3/4 mile range, so plenty of range for the standard family pet. It goes in increments of 10 to 127.
Whoa.
Yeah, so the older models or cheaper models will go to like 5 or 10. 10 and 127 are the same, but I have 117 more divisions. Does that make sense?
Interesting, yeah.
People think it's that when they hear 127 versus 10, they're thinking more.
Yeah.
And I go, no, it's the same.
Oh.
I just have more divisions.
More divisions meaning.
So like for the 1 to 10 collars, let's say on 3 she's yelping, but
Yeah.
on 2 she's not listening. On mine, if 30 she's yelping and 20 she's not listening, I can go to 25, 24, 26.
Yeah.
I can fine tune it. Okay. So
Gotcha.
that's why
It's like a little dial. almost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a dial, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 127. Okay.
Okay.
It comes with an LED screen, so you get exact, measurement and stuff like that. So I've been using the brand for like 8-10 years now, and very rarely do I have issues with it. Typically, it's like the dial will sometimes be a little off. It'll jump too much, or because it has electronic, the battery will die out, whatever. It is covered by a warranty. So if something happens within a year, you send it in to repair it. The most common thing that I see is the battery does die because it's a rechargeable lithium battery, like a cell phone. So like after a couple of years, you might find it's not holding a charge. You go online, they're like $15. You order it, you replace it. Otherwise, if it's within a warranty, you just send it in to replace it themselves. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been using it for years, so no issues. One of the most common questions that I get is when does the e-collar go away?
Yeah.
In my book, when you need it, it doesn't. Okay? So what that means is if you're going to be outside here with Winnie and you can't account for life and the distractions that, of other dogs and things like that, fireworks, you want to know you have it. So it doesn't mean that you're always using it. It just means that it's present, right? So you drove, you drive, right? Have you ever been on the expressway?
Yes.
Do you go the speed limit?
Sometimes.
So if you see a squad car, what happens?
Slow down.
Exactly. And a lot of people don't go speed limit. Most people don't go speed limit, right? But when they see a squad car, all of a sudden everybody's like in formation, right?
Yeah.
That's called opportunistic behavior. When you can get away with something.
Yeah. So
right.
With the doggy.
Exactly. So think of that e-collar as a cop on a collar. So she's a great dog in the house. When people come over and all that stuff, you don't use it. You don't need it. But if it's like, when people come over, she gets really excited. We have it. And she might have it on for like 15 minutes, and once she settles, you remove it.
Yeah.
Okay? But if you're going to be outside, because you can't account for an off-leash dog running to you, someone blowing up a firework and like maybe scaring Winnie.
Yeah.
I don't know, she sees a rabbit, she decides to book it after the rabbit, right? I want to know if in case of an emergency, I have control.
Yeah.
So your obedience applies to like life when everything's going just fine, right? Like the usual playing at the park type stuff.
Yeah.
But then it's there, like it's really there when like, oh crap, like she's taking off because somebody scared her. Now she's like running for her life. That's an emergency scenario. And Melissa with Nash, I think it was after her second class, we hadn't done a recall yet, and he took off towards the street and she had to max out the collar to make him return.
Oh man.
So he didn't get into the street, you
Yeah.
know?
Miss Dick.
You never know with doggies. What do you have?
Completely unplanned. Roxy, who also goes with Travis, at Travis, was like at the southeast corner, right? So then if this is the southeast corner, the playground is over there.
Yes.
And she took off after a rabbit and actually went so fast, got in the kids' playground and was going to run into the street. And Narenga had to 127 continuous her.
Oh my god.
And she's like, she shrieked, but then 180, they came right back to me. Like, that's just shit that happens, you know? Because she's a dog. If something happens very quickly, like a rabbit just shooting through here, like, she's not planning for it. She's just like, rabbit, boom.
Yeah.
You know, because she's a predator.
Yeah.
So I'm able to stop those things. So things like that. Okay? So when you need it, it's present. When you don't need it, you don't have it. Okay?
Awesome. Okay.
And I get some clients that will say, like, Jesse, my dog's doing great. I don't need the e-collar anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll sell it. And I'm like, okay, but if something happens, like if there's an emergency, like, I mean, I'm sure the dog is great, because of all the training they've done. But I'm like, my dogs still wear it whenever they're going to be off leash. Because, I can't account for things, you know? I've had it happen to me twice in Logan Square where someone set off a random firework. And it wasn't even 4th of July. It was like late August, So, and my Pitty hates fireworks. She hates them. So, but they were on a leash. But then I'm walking home and my Pitty's like so scared. She's like, I want to just go home.
Yeah.
But if I had the e-collar, I could have very easily calmed her down. So, things like that we can't plan for.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
Other questions?
No, I think that's it. So we kind of read and willing to work and use the collar and everything. So just want to get her trained and all that.
Sure. So Maria will follow up with you.
Okay.
She'll send you all the info. She'll send you the make and model. She'll send you a link and all that stuff.
Perfect.
I do suggest that once you get your e-collar, you do open it up, test it out, read the manual.
Okay.
I'm going to go over with you again. I'll send you some videos.
Sure.
But you want to fiddle with it to make sure that everything's working normally. So it should go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5, very incrementally. If you see it go from like 5 to 25 very easily, then something's up with the dial. So that this way, you know, if you need to exchange it, you can get that taken care of, and we don't show up to a lemon. So that's happened a couple of times, where the owner will get the collar and then they don't test it, and then I show up and I'm like, oh crap, this is a dud. Okay. So other than that, I don't foresee any issues. I've trained plenty of puppies at her age, perfectly fine. You know, we have YouTube videos that you can go to, just like Moose is a 6-month-old Bernese that we Bernie Doodle that we started with e-collar. Ruthie, who's over right in your neighborhood, was 6 months when she started with e-collar. She went from super nervous and yappy to a very calm and just like chill pup because of the discipline. So yeah, I don't see any issues. I've trained plenty of Goldens, super smart, but I can tell you right now she's gonna be stubborn.
Oh, Winnie?
Yeah.
You really?
Yeah, I'll tell you that right now.
Oh my gosh, Winnie. And we were like, I think she's pretty good because she doesn't bark or anything, but you think she's gonna be a little stubborn?
Yeah.
What we used to in the beginning, bonk her nose until she yelped. But we haven't really, because she doesn't bark, but we try to nip that in the bud.
Right.
That's horrible.
So as she matures, because she's gonna get physical, because I can see that she's already fairly physically tough.
Yeah.
Because of how much I just had to handle her.
Yeah.
Most pups after like 3 minutes are done, and she's still going.
Oh.
You know, so I can already tell the difference between her and other puppies.
Yeah.
She's very impulsive.
Yeah.
Right. That's what led to that happening. She's restless, right, which is typically overstimulation. The brain unable to turn off.
Oh.
Okay. So the e-collar can help with all this stuff, because once we start putting discipline on her, it helps teach her an off switch. Because that's what happened with Ruthie. Ruthie was just like all over the place, and as soon as we did a class, like one class with her, she was great. Okay, so we'll have to see how she turns out. Not every dog is that quick, but once they start to get a taste of their own medicine, and like you're biting her for things and stuff like that, you're gonna start to see a lot more shifts.
Sure.
Okay. Anything else?
No, we're excited. And then it's Friday mornings work, like
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
Maria knows my schedule, so I don't want to like
say yes.
Yeah, because someone could be there, but as far as I know, Friday mornings is available.
Okay.
So it's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
So I'll tell her to give follow up with you, and if you, or you just email her like, Maria, give me a Friday morning. Like, she'll just block it off for you. She'll send the forms in as soon as you're all settled. Then time is yours.
And then do you like doing every week or twice a week? What do you think?
Once a week is fine, because you need time to like practice and make mistakes and learn like what needs to be worked on. Twice a week tends to be too much. I've done it before with like clients that have already trained with me, because they're already familiar with it.
Yeah.
You know, but I recommend for anybody, definitely one class a week is plenty. So then, if you did Friday morning or whatever, that would be your time for however many weeks you book it for. And then if you have to cancel, reschedule, you just let Maria know and she'll handle the rest.
Sure. Okay. So after this, should I call Maria or I'll get the email?
I'm going to call her to fill her in on what I recommended for you to make your decision. But if you want to email her or call her, just tell her, hey, Maria, if there's a Friday morning time, could you please hold that for me and send me the information? So she knows to just block it for you. And then once you get all squared away, you'll have your time.
Super.
Because I know I have 2 more consultations with you.
Oh, yeah.
So,
right be like,
first come, first serve. Yeah, for sure. All right.
Awesome.
Anything else?
No, I think, and then Maria will send me the link.
Yeah, we'll send you all the information that you'll need, okay? And then once you're booked, you'll get an email from me with some videos to watch to prep you for the training class.
Awesome.
Okay?
Sounds good, Jesse.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
I'm going to bring you the company here.
No. Winnie! Why do you know?
Were you the one I saw last time here again?
I don't think so.
Because somebody had stopped me. I was in between clients and I was walking to my car and they waved me down and they're like, oh, we're booking a consultation with you.
Oh.
And she looked like you.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
That's funny, though. How did you get into this, Jesse?
I rescued a dog. I can take it off.
Okay.
I rescued a dog like 8 years ago that had behavioral issues. She was friendly, but she was just scared of everything. And then trying to help her find answers, turned out that I was just good at this.
Oh my gosh.
And then I ended up working at PetSmart for a bit as a trainer. And then a lot of people, they would always send me people. Even though I was the new trainer there, they had like 2 other senior trainers. They would always send me the dogs. and I wanted to work with dogs with behavior issues like aggression and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up losing that job because they were giving me clients. So the managers were giving me clients that they knew that PetSmart wouldn't take. So I wasn't taking any business from PetSmart. But the other trainers, because everybody always referred me, reported me. So then I was like, whatever. So then I just branched out and I did my own thing, and then I've been doing it since.
Yeah.
So
There you go. Awesome. We look forward to seeing you.
yeah, no, she'll be an easy case.
Yeah.
I hope. Every time I've said that, I'm like,
I
then it's
know,
not being
I
difficult.
know.
Nah,
All
she'll
right,
be fine.
guys.